In the vibrant streets of a small town in Mexico, where the air was thick with the scent of spices and the sounds of laughter mingled with music, lived a 10-year-old boy named Watchtower. His name was a peculiar one, a whimsical choice by his mother, who had always dreamt of a son being a guardian over her chaotic world. Watchtower, with his bright, intelligent eyes, stood out amongst other children, often lost in thought or buried in books. He had a sharp mind and a curious spirit, thriving in his community school, even as his home life spiraled into chaos. His parents, Isabel and Marco, were caught in the grips of addiction. They sold drugs to support their habits, their lives a whirlwind of highs and lows that left little room for stability. Each day, Watchtower watched as the fought, the sounds of their arguments echoing through the thin walls of their small home. It was a harsh reality that weighed heavily on his heart. Despite his academic success, a shadow of sadness followed him, a constant reminder of the discord that filled his life. On a typical afternoon, as Watchtower walked home from school, he passed the same familiar sight, the old bakery, where the sweet smell of pan dolce wafted through the air, the bustling market where vendors shouted out their wares, and the park where children played carefree. But today, as he turned the corner, he sensed something was off. A group of men loitered around an alley, their eyes dark and calculating. Watchtower quickened his pace, his instincts urging him to avoid trouble. However, fate had other plans. As he rounded the corner, two of the men stepped forward, their intentions clear. Before he could react, they grabbed him, dragging him into the shadows of the alley. Panic surged through him as he struggled, but their grip was too strong for him. They chattered in low voices, mentioning debt and payments, their faces obscured by the dim lights. Marco didn't pay, one of them sneered, his breath rancid. Looks like we are getting a new asset. Watchtower's heart raced. He had heard whispered conversations about the mafia that controlled the drug trade in their town, but he never imagined he would be caught in their web. Fear gripped him, but deep down he held onto hope, praying that someone would come looking for him. Days turned into a blur as he was transported, bound, and terrified to a different world. He found himself aboard a large cruise ship, surrounded by people who seemed oblivious to his plight. His captors treated him like a piece of merchandise, and he could hear them discussing plans to sell him to a wealthy foreigner. Then came Henry, a German artist with an air of sophistication and an eye for beauty. He had been searching for inspiration for his next masterpiece, something raw and real. When he saw Watchtower, a flicker of something deeper ignited within him. Perhaps it was the boy's wide, frightened eyes or the innocence that radiated from him. Take care of him, Henry instructed his companions, his voice firm. I'll pay for him. And just like that, Watchtower was sold, not into the clutches of abuse, but into the warmth of a new life. Henry took him back to Germany, where everything was different: clean streets, towering buildings, and a world that felt light years away from his previous existence. Henry's wife, Clara, was a devout Christian filled with compassion and grace. She took Watchtower under her wings, showering him with love and nurturing his spirit. In her eyes, he was the child she had always wanted, and she poured her heart into educating him about God and the teachings of Jesus Christ. At first, Watchtower was hesitant. He carried the scars of his past, the weight of abandonment and betrayal. But Clara's love broke through his defenses. She introduced him to a life filled with kindness, laughter, and faith. They would spend hours reading the Bible together, discussing the stories of hope and redemption. Slowly but surely, the boy who had been lost found a sense of belonging. As the years rolled by, Watchtower flourished. He excelled in school and found solace in his studies. Driven by a desire to make something of himself, he graduated with top honors, his heart set on becoming a missionary inspired by Clara's unwavering faith. With her encouragement, he traveled the world sharing the message of hope and redemption he had discovered. His life became a vivid show of a life that had witnessed the transformative power of love and forgiveness. He was known globally as a minister of God, his words resonating with people from all walks of life. But even as he traveled, a part of him remained tethered to his roots. He felt a pull to return to Mexico, to the land of his childhood, to confront the ghost of his past. After years of missionary work, he finally made the decision to pay a visit. Upon his arrival, the familiar sights and sounds flooded back, but they were tinged with a sense of nostalgia. He walked the streets, feeling the weight of memories pressing down on him. As he approached the old neighborhood, his heart raced. Would he find his parents? Would they even recognize him? Were the thoughts that raced through his mind. To his surprise, he spotted them outside a dilapidated house, looking older and more worn than he remembered. Isabel's eyes were sunken, and Marco's once vibrant demeanor was overshadowed by shadows of regret. They were still wrapped in the chains of addiction, but something shifted in Watchtower's heart. He approached cautiously, his voice trembling. Mom, Dad, they turned, disbelief acted on their faces. Watchtower, Isabel whispered, tears welling in her eyes. In that moment, the past collided with the present. Emotions surged within him pain, anger, but also an overwhelming sense of compassion. He stepped forward, enveloping them in a hug, feeling the warmth of forgiveness wash over him. I've forgiven you, he said softly. I know my kidnapping was part of God's purpose. It led me to a new life, a life filled with love. His parents fell to their knees, the weight of their choices crashing down and around them. We are so sorry. Marco choked out, tears streaming down his face. We've ruined everything. Watchtower knelt down beside them, his heart aching for the broken lives they had led. You can change. It's not too late, Daddy, Mommy. God loves you and He can help you find your way. As he shared his journey, his parents listened, their hearts softening with each word. He spoke of Clara, of the love that had transformed him, and the faith that had given him strength. In that moment, he became not just their son, but a vessel of hope. Days turned into weeks as Watchtowers continued to visit, helping his parents find the support they needed. With love and determination, they began to break free from the chains of addiction, attending meetings and seeking help. It was a long and difficult road, but they were willing to fight for their lives and for the son they had lost. As the seasons changed, so did their lives. Isabel and Marco found purpose in their recovery, and Watchtower stood by their side, true to his name, a watchtower indeed. Together, they began to rebuild their family, finding healing in the bonds of faith. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape. Watchtower sat with his parents in the park where he used to play as a child. They spoke of dreams of hope and the future they wanted to create together. I never thought I'd be here, Marco admitted, his voice filled with awe. I never thought we could change. It's never too late, Watchtower replied, a smile spreading across his face. God has a plan for each of us. We just have to be willing to embrace it. As they watched the sun set, a sense of peace enveloped them. In the years that followed, Watchtower continued his work as a minister, traveling the world to share the message of redemption. And in Mexico, Isabel and Marco found their own purpose, helping others who struggled with addiction, sharing their story of hope and transformation. Their lives proved that even the most broken lives could be restored.